Hand over your weapons.
Why should we?
Well, they're not yours.
What?
See, your weapons, your truck, the fuel in your truck, if you got mints in your glove compartment, if you got porn underneath the seat, change in the seats, hell, the seats themselves, the floor mats, your maps, little stash of emergency napkins you got there in the console. None of those things are yours anymore.
Whose are they?
Your property now belongs to Negan.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are on episode 9 of the Dave and Creech.
Number nine?
Yes.
Number nine?
Number 9.
All right.
Yes, we are on cloud 9 for this podcast, which is full of awesome interviews with both Strip Club Massacre, cast and crew, and the always awesome Christopher Barry.
I think it's a good show. I love the interviews. I like getting interviews. It's better than us, just you and me chatting. You know what I mean? Although I like to chat. So
a lot of people apparently like to hear us chat. Yeah, surprisingly so. Sometimes I hear just as much great stuff about us talking to each other as I do the actual interviews with the actors, which is really weird.
Yeah, that's true, but I've read things where other people go, your voices are so calm, I like to go to sleep to you. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of, we're not a bedtime podcast, right? I don't think we are. I don't know. I mean, we are. Here's the thing. When we record at night, like right now, it's late. My kids are asleep. So I do tend to, that's why, remember earlier, we were supposed to be at noon, right? And things got shifted, so.
Yeah. All right. Whew. It's been a crazy week.
It has?
Yeah.
What's going on? What's so crazy?
Oh no, just had a lot to do, a lot to edit.
Yeah.
Hung out with some people I hadn't seen in years over the weekend. It was interesting. It was just interesting. I did find out they're younger than me, not by much, by like 3 years, but when I went there to find out I'm like the second oldest person there, made me feel really old.
Okay. How many people was it?
It really wasn't that much. It was a quiet, well, I wouldn't even say quiet, but a get together of about 12 to 15 people.
Okay. And you were the second, so you really pulled everybody there, huh? Was it part of
Yes, we did. Yeah, we were like, okay, what's your age? And everybody's like, oh, I'm 23, 24, 25. And, at 27, I was the second oldest. The oldest person there was 30.
Oh, wow. That guy must have felt like a real loser.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like a pretty big loser as it was, but once he said he was 30, I was like, well, thank God for that. Not the oldest.
Yeah, at least you have a 2 still in somewhere in your, age, right?
Exactly. And I just need to make sure. I guess I should ask in advance when I'm going to these things. Okay, so what are the ages of everybody? So then, I could always just bring in somebody older just in case.
Yeah,
Find some like 50-year-old homeless person on the street. Like, here's like $50. Come with me to this party. So I'm not the oldest.
You need the ages ahead of time, right? So
exactly.
Well, I can't give away my age, but I'm sure it's online somewhere. But man, I'm a lot older than you then. By I may be double your age. I think. I don't know. No, I don't think I'm double. No, not.
Well, if it makes you feel any older, Scary Movie was the first R-rated movie I saw in theaters, and I wasn't even old enough to see it.
You snuck in, man. You talking?
No, see, I lucked out. I had a really cool sister who took me.
Your sister's younger than you, though, dude. You have another one?
No, she's not. Yeah, no. I think you've talked to her before, Amanda, but she's 7 years older than me,
What?
which will probably kill me.
I thought she was like 23.
Nope. She is whatever 27 plus 7 is.
34.
Exactly.
34.
That's her age.
Oh, I thought she was way younger, man. I thought she was like 23. I thought she was your little sister. Like she was 17, maybe. I don't know.
Nope, she's my older sister.
Oh, but maybe she's one of those people that she has a 10-year-old photo on her accounts.
It may. I'd have to double check. I haven't even been on her Twitter account in a while because she's not very, very active.
Right.
On there.
It always freaks me out with the people that put like photos of when they were like in high school or photos of they're in 8th grade as their like profile photo. It's like, what the heck are you doing? That's kind of weird. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's really anything nowadays too. Yeah. It's like, I don't know why people use like older pictures of themselves. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I thought I looked better when I was younger too, but you're not going to see like a 4-year-old picture of me as my profile picture on anything.
Yeah. I mean, look, I understand if people don't feel comfortable with who they are and they put a picture of a sunset or whatever it might be, or like some wind chimes or, some sort of sculpture, you've seen those, right? Where the profile doesn't even have a photo of them at all. And then you can't find anything of them. It's just, they're just posting quotes and random, memes and stuff like that. And you're just like, who is this person? We're talking about, I'm moving so easily into our topics. We're definitely going to touch on Leonardo DiCaprio winning an Oscar. And what was the movie? It was
The Revenant.
The Revenant. I have to look that word up. I don't even know what that means. What's the Revenant mean? What's Revenant mean? Do you know what it means?
I don't, but I'm pretty sure the Google machine may know.
I'm already there.
Look at there.
Oh, you know what Revenant means? It means Leonardo DiCaprio gets an Oscar. There's the word.
That's the Webster's Dictionary term for it now.
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly. No, a person who has returned, especially supposedly from the dead. Well, look at that, as we are a Walking Dead podcast. Revenant. No one ever knew it. It's a French word. Popular in the 19th century. Was the director French too, or was he English? I mean, was he...
I haven't even... I'm one of the apparent very few people that have not seen this film.
Oh, you haven't seen the film? Ooh.
I have not.
See, you go and spend your money. Yeah, but how many times have you seen Deadpool? What's that up to now? Probably 4?
Like 6.
No way. You're kidding. Are you joking?
No.
You really saw Deadpool 6 times?
Yes.
But then again, you didn't go see Revenant or The Revenant.
No, because see, when I went there, I mean, there was other movies like, oh, Zoolander 2's out. I should go see that. And then it's like, well, you know what?
They were so close. They were very similar. They could have both been nominated. It could have went either way.
Yeah, it's like, why take a chance on some movie that may be good when I could just watch something again that I know is going to be good and entertaining?
Well, the one good thing about paying for The Revenant in the movie theater, it's a long movie. It's probably like 3.5 hours or 3 hours. So you definitely get your $9.50 was worth, you know what I mean? Whatever you're paying, depends on where you live. But that would, you know what I'm saying? So like, I get all that stuff. They send it to me to watch, like to vote on or whatever. So I get what they call screeners, and I just watch them on my laptop. I have one laptop, an older laptop that has like this DVD player. The one I'm currently have my laptop does not have a CD plot or whatever DVD player. So I have to go out and buy something. So once the older laptop dies, then I'm really screwed because I don't have a DVD player. I don't own one. So.
Well, yeah, see, I'm not, I guess, cool enough to get screeners. I know,
Not yet.
I know that, when I was up in New York, Eric Jensen got that, all the screeners for, I guess, the Oscar ones, but of course we didn't watch them. So I've been meaning to see it, but I just never did. But I'm gonna check it out. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio generally doesn't make bad movies. There's some questionable movies,
Yeah.
but usually, I mean, he's not really one of those that you see his name attached to a movie and you're like, okay, this is going to be a huge
Hey,
steaming
look,
pile
here's
of
the
crap.
thing. As a filmmaking, it's a period piece. He's very good. He's good in it. He's somebody you can watch. He's, honestly, he's the best act. He's one of the best actors we have working in the business. And I'm sure there's better actors that aren't working in the business. Trust me. You know what I'm saying? It's about who you know and being in the right place at the right time. And we're talking about a kid that was on Growing Pains, right?
Mhm.
So, at the end of the day, Leonardo DiCaprio was on Growing Pains TV show. So let's not forget he's almost as equal as Screech. Screech is in prison. Leonardo DiCaprio is winning Academy Awards. Really, there's absolutely no difference. I'm sorry, but there's not. And then you got the Slater guy, whatever his name is. What's it? Who played Slater in Saved by the Bell? Is it?
I don't know. I didn't watch that show. Slater, was that the main guy?
I don't know.
Or was it Mario Lopez?
Yeah, I thought that was Mario Lopez's character. That's what I'm thinking about. But Mario what is he? He's like a game show host and a talk show. You know what I mean? He hosts like one of those Inside Hollywood edition. What's the show he has?
I think it's like Inside Hollywood, Inside Access,
Probably
Extra,
Access.
one of those.
One of those, yeah, But he's literally standing at the Grove somewhere with a lot of makeup on, talking to a TV thing and about other people. And then Leonardo's winning Academy Awards. Creech or Screech has, oh man, I almost got
He's in jail.
He's in jail. And then Kirk Cameron is making every now and then makes a Jesus movie. I think he might have ran through all that by now.
Well, I know one of his first movies, his acting was so good that he actually tricked my mother. I know back when What's Eating Gilbert's Grape came out, my mom actually thought he was legitimately mentally challenged.
I actually thought he was a grape.
You did?
So, yeah. It's kind of funny.
I don't remember that movie. Did they ever explain the meaning of his grape? What was his grape?
Maybe it was supposed to be gripe, but because he was playing some mentally challenged person, he misspelled it. So maybe it was Gilbert's gripe,
Yeah.
I don't know. Was he Gilbert? I don't know.
I don't know. I know Johnny Depp was in it. I remember Johnny Depp, and I remember him. But my mom swearing up and down that he was actually legitimately mentally challenged until she saw an interview, and she was like, "Wait, why is he speaking like that? Is he really normal?"
Oh, Creech. Mentally challenged people are just as normal as everyone else. Maybe even more normal. It all depends on what side you're landing on and where you're looking at.
Yeah, I agree.
And perhaps he truly is. What if Leonardo is truly normally like the mentally challenged guy, and everything we know about Leo is his more brilliant performance is playing it, as you quote unquote say, normal. What about that? Think about that, Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I know. Are you trying to blow my mind right now? Because that's pretty much happening.
Yes, exactly.
So,
but here's the deal. He gets raped by a bear in this movie. Okay, he gets penetrated.
I'm already sold right there. You have me at that.
I'm not joking. This happens. He gets killed. The bear just rips the hell out of him. Gets killed. The bear's doing everything. Eating his butthole, taking claws, scraping his head. He's jumping on him up and down. It's kind of funny when the bear's jumping up and down on him, but so he gets killed, or they think he's dead. They're literally burying him. You know what I mean? And they leave him for dead because these Indians are chasing the rest of the guys, so they don't bury him completely. And he crawls out of the grave, and he crawls under a tree. And then over the next 6 months, he gets better and better and better, and he's out to get revenge. Who's the guy who played in the Batman movie and Mad Max, et cetera, et cetera?
Oh, Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Tom Hardy plays like the jerky dude that kind of like screws him over. So he's after him because Tom Hardy actually kills his son in this movie. But here's the thing: the storyline's not. Yeah, whatever. The storyline, it's not that good of a story. It's better looking. The movie looks great, and his performance is very strong. Tom Hardy is great, and there's a lot of young guys or older gentlemen, whatever way you want to look at it. There's just a lot of people that have great performances in that movie. So they turn in great performances. The director paints a great picture visually. There's sweeping shots, mountain shots, all this stuff. But in terms of the story, from point A on page 1 to point Z on, page 156 with this movie, because it's a long one, I don't give it like a thumbs up in terms of the entertainment value of, wow, I was so captivated. It was, it's not that good in that kind of sense. So.
Well, I actually didn't watch the Oscars, but I know a lot of people that only watched the Oscars to see if he got it. So now it makes me wonder. Because barely anybody I know watches the Oscars anymore. Anyways,
I got to be honest, I've never watched them one time in my entire life. I might have tuned in a little bit here and there. Like Hugh Jackman hosted them one year, or maybe more than one. But I do like seeing kind of the tone of who the host is going to be. With being Chris Rock, I kind of already knew what to expect, so I didn't even tune in at all. But and I'm a Chris Rock fan, by the way. I think he's hilarious, and I would love to see. I'll probably go online and look for his monologue stuff that he did, because I think he's hilarious. But I just didn't bother. I've got too much stuff going on, like you're saying. It's kind of a pageantry. It's a little too much pomp and pageantry and stuff like that. So. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
But yeah, I didn't even watch it. Once again, it wasn't even the Oscars. Even though this may have been, unless something else relevant happens with them, they didn't win the night on ratings. Obviously, on Sunday, it was The Walking Dead again. But the Oscars did take a little chunk out of The Walking Dead's, I guess, viewership.
Well, really quick, though, The Walking Dead is 1 hour and the Oscars is probably like 3 hours, right? So, I mean, the Oscars must have won some of the time period. And then that's hilarious that The Walking Dead won. You said it was the lowest ratings in 8 years, and you thought it might have had something to do with the diversity sort of protest that was going on in the just kind of the situation with the Oscars not being diverse enough, and that sort of being hot button news issues, which really died out, weeks ago, and at least on the main facet of things. And I don't think that African Americans were really a big draw as terms of audience for the Oscars ever anyway. So I don't think that affected the ratings as much as I believe what affected the ratings was just the lack of really anything exciting being nominated. You know what I mean? I just feel it was sort of like, they had the thing of Oscars so white, but I just think Oscars so boring now, after watching what was getting nominated. And, like I said, anytime you have Sylvester Stallone being nominated for Best Supporting Actor, that you're sort of like really like dipping into the gene pool there of actors. You're really slim on the nominations. He got nominated for playing Rocky, a version of Rocky, he played Rocky, and it's like, okay, you just nominated a guy that you've seen do that performance probably like 8 times over the 40 years. So how is that anything new and exciting? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and I think the numbers will continue to go down. Not like you said, it's not just because of the whole everything going on outside of just awarding movies. I just think the format of this type of show is just old now.
Dinosaur. Well, that could also speak to the sort of the accessibility of being wired in, especially with Twitter. I know Twitter is not the hottest thing in the world. You got your Snapchats and your Instagrams and other things, but Twitter is a very good news bite type of thing. It still has access to that, and people can basically tweet all the winners very quickly, and then therefore people don't have to be tied to the television watching it. They know they're going to get to watch little sound bites almost immediately. They don't have to wait. They're like, oh, I'm going to wait for the news to watch a repeat of something. Literally, people are posting, the hottest little snippet or Chris Rock's monologue right away. And they're also posting all the winners right away. And it's just coming through. It's getting pushed through on your phone. So therefore, why would you be tied to watching, the whole show? I know out in LA, a lot of people have Oscar parties. I don't know if they do that around the rest of the country, but they have Oscar viewer parties, like Super Bowl parties where it's like, come over to my house. I'm going to have 20 people and we're going to watch the Oscars. I don't think they do that in Minnesota or Ohio, but I don't know. I mean, have you ever been to an Oscar viewing party? Like,
when I was younger, yeah, but yeah, those don't really happen anymore. And kind of like what you were just saying with the whole social media aspect of it. Yeah, I mean, that's what I did. If I wanted to see who won, I mean, Facebook and Twitter were updating every 5-10 minutes. As soon as an announcer was announced or a winner was announced, they put it straight up onto there. So,
right.
I mean, there really was no need to sit through all that drum roll and all that other, stuff they used to kind of kill the time, and just find out who the winners are just like that.
I do think the one funny thing I saw a clip of, but I don't know the context of it, but I thought it was hilarious. It was Stacey Dash. Do you know who she is from Clueless?
Clueless, I do, and I know about all the. She's been all in the news supporting a lot of, I guess you could say, controversial views.
Okay, whatever, but it was hilarious, dude. She came out on stage in like a nice gown. She came to the center stage and she said, "Happy Black History Month," right? And then she waved and just left the stage. And it was hilarious. It was just like, because the Oscars were on the last day of February, which was Black History Month. So it was like, Happy Black History Month. And, so it was that was like, I thought that was the funniest thing, that was pretty ballsy of her to do that. And it was really funny, for that kind of like avant-garde sort of Dadaist type of sense of humor for her to come out and do something like that and make a statement. It was very funny.
I agree. Now,
I don't know why it was weird that they let her do that, though, or who came up with that, what writer came up with that in the first place, because it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's very weird that I write these things and I can never remember what the topics are. What's next on our topics?
Well, we kind of bounced around. So we were talking about Leo finally getting his Oscar. Well, let me ask you a question, because you said finally getting his Oscar. What were two other performances you would say, oh, he got ripped off? He should have got an Oscar for. What was there something?
Well, I mean, I thought he was great in Titanic and in The Departed. But it's been a running joke. I don't know if you've seen many of them, but it's been a running joke for all these years that Leo hasn't been able to get an Oscar for all these roles. And there was actually a GIF image that came out right after he won, and it was a cartoon image of all the characters he had played, and and they were showing them in order of when they were released, and like he was young faced, and then like he not until he looks full grown old man with a beard did he actually get the Oscar. So it made him look like he spent his whole life trying to chase the Oscar. It's kind of funny, but everybody's been, up until this one especially, they had like there would be a meme image of, say, them at the Academy Awards and then them giving the award to the bear, and
Right.
him looking on and stuff like that. And it's just been a running gag for the past, I don't know how many years he's been nominated. I guess since at least '97, probably about 9 years of being nominated but not getting the award.
Right.
Kind of like always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah.
And then he finally got to be the bride this year.
Right. Well, it's the role. You got to get the right role, and it's your age, and you got to have a role that fits. Like now he's at that age where he's got that sort of maturity look to him, and it plays into the grittiness. Before he was a little more of a pretty boy in some of those things. So even in this movie, if he was 20, if he was 30 playing the role, he wouldn't have that kind of. You got to see this movie. The guy looks like he's just, he looks like he hasn't slept in, a month or whatever. And so he just looks, unhealthy and brutal and aged and, a very sort of hard life that this character was living. And now he has that patina on his own skin to like match the sort of grittiness and the drama of what the characters are doing. You know what I mean? So I think that will happen for Johnny Depp someday as well. Johnny Depp is actually older than Leonardo DiCaprio, but he still looks so young. You know what I'm saying? So eventually Johnny will have that moment of having that age on him. You know what I mean? Where he's more like a Robert Redford looking guy and he can play something with that kind of gravity or gravitas. to match his age.
Exactly. And that actually, I haven't checked the list yet of what to talk about, but speaking of Johnny Depp, he played opposite Heather Langenkamp in the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Who has just been announced that she is going to be in a brand new Hellraiser movie.
Okay.
And our ties to that are that obviously I recorded an interview with Heather down in Days of the Dead. So whenever that comes out, I mean, we'll probably release it before then, but we have Heather Langenkamp from that movie and obviously from the Freddy movies on Dave and Creech.
That'd be great. Hellraiser. I've always been a fan of Pinhead. Who's the guy that plays Pinhead? Doug, what's his name?
I think it's Doug Bradley. However, he won't be playing Pinhead in this one.
No. Who are they going to get?
It's some new person, and they're the only thing that I was originally worried when I heard that he was not playing Hellraiser, but the people who wrote this and are making this were actually fans of the originals, and some of the stuff that they've released about it does sound interesting. And it sounds like Pinhead's not going to be the main focus of this, but it'll be his Cenobites that'll be playing bigger roles in it.
Nice. Yeah.
And I didn't know about this movie obviously when I interviewed her, but I think Heather Langenkamp would be a good fit for it. Plus, she can now be in another famous horror franchise.
Yeah. Hey, that's a win-win for her, right? So
exactly.
I'm excited to see it. But at the same time, I wish they don't always have to reboot and keep, it's horror. Just, they make a lot of sequels.
Oh yeah. And like most movies, I mean, there's some, as a matter of fact, I had a chance to check this out today. I've watched it before, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But there was a movie that came out in like 2008 called Quarantine, which is a kind of a zombie movie filmed kind of like in the Cloverfield Blair Witch style. And I did some research on it afterwards because I was like, well, that's an interesting way to end it. Let me see if there's any more. And they did make a sequel, but what I found out on top of that was they actually remade that from a Spanish film that came out not even a year prior to that. So I'm like, wow, they didn't really waste any time in trying to remake that. And they pretty much shot it scene for scene the exact way the original was.
Yeah, they do that a lot with foreign language movies. Let the right one in or whatever that one was. You know what I'm saying? Like they were trying to do that with Troll Hunter. You've seen that movie, right? That Norwegian movie. I think it's Norwegian.
Have not.
What? Come on, man. What?
I haven't watched a movie that had the word troll in it since the original Troll and Troll 2. And that kind of ruined me for any movie that has the word troll in it.
Okay, you got to go see that movie. But the good news is it never got remade, but they were ready to they were trying to remake that like right away that year. You know what I mean? It was like they were going to make the English version or the American version of it. And I was like, there was nothing wrong with the Norwegian version. It was great. And I think they spoke English in that one. So I can't remember, but maybe they didn't speak English and I watched it in subtitles, but it's a really good movie. Or Monsters. You've seen Monsters, right?
Monsters. What is it about?
It's kind of like Monsters is like these alien creatures meets Apocalypse Now, where these alien creatures have taken over the world, and there's a photographer that works for a newspaper. He works for like a Fox News sort of agency, like a Rupert Murdoch kind of head guy. Instructs the guy because he's caught down in South America, and so is this rich guy's daughter. And he's like, he pays him to go get his daughter and get her back to America, where they've built walls to basically protect himself from these aliens. And all the flights are canceled, and the only way he can get her back to America is take her up through Mexico. And when they get up into like Guatemala or wherever, they have to rent a boat, and they're going up this river. And as they're going up the river, you never see the monsters, but you see all the damage that they've done, all the people they've killed. You know what I mean? And he's getting closer and closer. Eventually, you do see the monsters. There's a reveal of what they're about and what they're there for. They did make a sequel to that and I think it's just straight to Netflix. I forget what it's called, but it's Monsters, something else. You know what I mean? So that was a movie that was made in South America with a South American director for, I think he might have made it for $300,000 or something like that, the first one. But it's really good. You've never seen it?
Never.
Okay.
It kind of sounds like a movie that came out in I think 2009 called District 13.
District
or
9?
12.
District 9?
Yeah, one of those.
It was right around the same time. That was South African. Obviously, that director went on to major big things. But it's in the same vein. That one, that movie's probably way more expensive. That because they shot in South Africa, they were able to get away with so much. They got so much bang for their buck. That movie has a lot going for it. You know what I mean? This is really small. It's just a guy and a girl, and then maybe there's 10 other actors. A lot of it is just them in a boat. Going up the stream. It's pretty good. I think you'll like that one. I think you'll like, what was the other one I recommended? Troll Hunter? Yeah. Troll Hunter. Yeah. Those are the two. I would do your homework on those this week. I'd watch those.
Well, speaking of watch those, have you had a chance to watch Deadpool?
No, because you've watched it 6 times. So I have not seen it. I don't know when I'm going to see it, man. But I'll try to get around to it. Today was Tuesday. Today would have been a good day, but I was just so busy. But this is the day I can get in with a really good discount during the day and go see it. I think I can get for $5 or something. So
I mean, I'm just saying that it definitely is still breaking records. As a matter of fact, it was this is the third weekend that it's been out, this past weekend. And it brought in another $35 million. It's currently sitting.
Was it number 1 though, or what came out?
It was number 1. It actually, it beat Gods of Egypt was supposedly the new big movie that was coming out this weekend. It costs a huge amount of money to make, and it only made $15 million.
Yeah, it
looks like it's shaping up to be one of the first major flops this year. However, it was still in second place with $15 million, but then Deadpool still got $30 million, so it made a 15 more over that, and is now sitting worldwide at about a little over $500 million for a $55 million movie.
Nice.
So yeah, they're just continuing to rake in that money.
Good. So where are they at now, worldwide, you said?
Just a little bit over $500 million. So like 506 or 510 million.
Got it. 510 million. It's pretty good.
That is pretty good. And I think I only had one other thing on that list of entertainment topics this week. As of Friday, Fuller House was released. I doubt you got a chance to watch any of it or even wanted to watch it. But it's a sequel to a show that finished about 20 years ago, give or take. Yes,
that's right.
I actually did watch the first 6 episodes. I'm ashamed to admit.
Wait. I did they make more than 6? How many landed on this Netflix thing?
Well, you know how Netflix really doesn't go to a staggered release; they just release all the episodes at once.
Right. So how many landed?
There was 13.
And you're into 6 right now, huh?
Yeah, I watched 6 within the first 2 days. I haven't watched any since.
Got it.
But yeah, they were throwing some, as the youngsters nowadays say, they were throwing some shade at the Olson twins in the first episode, because the Olsons were the only ones to not come back. But
nice.
Yeah, they had a breaking the fourth wall, and also kind of breaking character for a minute.
Yeah, what'd they do?
Basically, they were chatting about, well, what's been going on with you, and then they mention the Olson twins character saying that they weren't able to come down because they were making billions off their clothing line, and then all of them look at the camera kind of disapprovingly for like a minute. Like it was a very long time to devote to looking at that without saying anything. And then they just went back into it like nothing else was happening. Like that didn't just happen. But I guess they wanted to get their shot in some way, but I don't blame them. I mean, they don't need the money, which probably couldn't be said for most of the actors on that show at this point.
Right.
And the Olsons, plus the Olsons look probably, I mean, I'm not playing favorites by just defending the Olsons, but the Olsons look older than any cast member on that show now, which is really bad.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked in with them lately. So you're saying the Olsons look older than Bob Saget?
Yeah. If you look at if you type in pictures of the Olsons, they there's not just that they're really skinny. Like I mean, I believe one of them had drug abuse that they fought for a while, and it looks like it. I mean, she looks one of them in particular looks at least like 60 or 70.
60 or 70? I think that's Photoshopped.
Well, maybe not 60 or 70, more like 40 or 50.
This is coming from the 28-year-old, right?
This is like 40 or 50. Okay, maybe 60 or 70 is pushing it, but when I saw her picture, I was like, my God, she looks really old.
I'll check it out. You know, running around chasing a kid. You know that.
As a matter of fact, can you you can receive emails, right?
Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah. Part of my parole is to receive emails. That's correct, Creech.
While we're podcasting.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm gonna send you that picture of Mary Kate or Ashley, just because. Like one you can see that she looks normal, and the other just doesn't, and we can just add this back in here. Picture is sending. It just sent, so it should be there shortly. Of the Olsen twins now, or at least one of the Olsen twins, and then like some imposter.
Wow! Yeah.
Doesn't the one on the left look like 40 or 50 for sure?
Are you sure that that's them together, or is that the mom?
No, that is them together.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the one that had the baby, the one that looks a little older.
Like it. On the right-hand side, you've got, obviously, it looks like just an older version of the Olsons. On the left-hand side, looks like somebody wearing an Olsen twins mask.
Yep. Yeah. Well, she's not wearing makeup on her eyes, you know, so the other one has the makeup on her eyes and eyebrow makeup, and the other one has more of a lipstick on and maybe some lip injection, so, you know. But what's up with the earlobe? Look at the earlobe on the one to the left. That's a really weird earlobe.
I agree, and I did look at the caption underneath the picture. Mary Kate is on the left, and Ashley Olsen is on the right, which I will include a link to this picture in the podcast so everybody else can judge too. Because I hate to make fun of them, but yeah, they don't look like twins anymore.
Yeah, well, hey, look, they've had a long career, and they've got a lot of money, and I think they got everything they deserve. You know what I mean? Hopefully they're happy. Oh, I just hope they're happy.
Yes, in the end, that is what we hope. That Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen are very happy.
Exactly.
Amongst their billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
From preteen.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah. There's plenty of there's new people coming up the rung. Let's give it up for the young, new, crazy preteen people. That'd be great. So, all right, let's move on. I don't want to talk about the Olsen twins.
Exactly. Well, and did you say the Olsen trolls?
Olsen twins.
Oh.
You're just hooked on trolls right now.
Yeah. Well, up next is our first of two interviews today. Our first interview today on the podcast is with somebody who we just saw on The Walking Dead like 2 weeks ago and got blown to absolute high heaven.
His performance blew me away, you could say.
Right? Yes. And he's got an amazing movie that's coming out very soon, along with he's been in a lot of stuff that I really didn't notice he was in until after we had him on the podcast.
Right.
But we've got Mr. Christopher Barry, who, if you're watching and you're a fan of The Walking Dead, most recently played Negan's savior Bud on the show. So it's a great interview. So let's listen into it. Did you have a good weekend?
Oh, yeah, man.
Awesome.
It's an excellent weekend. Thunderstorming here right now, though.
That sucks to hear that, man. I'm currently in Charleston, South Carolina. We just had a bad spell of weather ourselves.
Oh, did you? I love Charleston, man. It's a beautiful town.
Hello.
Hey.
All right.
What's
So,
going
on?
Not much, man. Just telling your bud that we're in the middle of a tornado watch, thunderstorms right now.
Oh, really? Are you like New Orleans proper?
Well, yeah. I live across the river in Algiers, but yeah, New Orleans proper.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. But today's a crappy day. I'm not going outside if I can help it.
You're not going out, but there's a parade somewhere in New Orleans, man.
Yeah, man, there always is.
I shot a TV show in March and April there, so a little last year, so, it's coming up on a year. I haven't been back there since then, but it was a hidden camera show for CMT. And, during our production, every morning it would be like, okay, it's going to take us 45 minutes. Like when we scouted it, it would be like 10 minutes away. And then like we're getting up in that morning, and they're like, got to get up an extra 45 minutes because there's a parade and we have to go this way. And every day we shot, there was a freaking parade. And I go, God dang, they like the parades down here, man.
Yeah. If there's not a parade, there's a second line going by or something. I used to live in Mid-City, New Orleans. And I lived like 2 blocks off of Canal Street, and the Endymion Parade for Mardi Gras every year goes down Canal. And man, it's a nightmare. If you try to get out of my neighborhood, around that time of year, it's just insane. But it's a party town, man. We like to party here.
That's right.
I did the Mardi Gras thing a few years, but nowadays when Mardi Gras comes around, I try to stay on my side of the river. I try to avoid it. It's too much.
Yeah. I was down there one time for like the Jazz Fest thing and then New Year's Eve. I enjoyed New Year's Eve quite a bit down there. That was fun.
Yeah. Halloween I think is my favorite. It gets pretty kooky around Halloween.
Yeah, I can see that.
Excuse me, fellas.
So what is going on here? We got so Creech, you sent me a bunch of you wrote down some questions here?
Yeah, I did. I sent you the fan questions.
Yeah, okay, those are the fan questions, right. And there was a couple questions from Germany and stuff like that. It was all broken English. Are those on here, Creech?
Indeed they are. I think the ones from Germany are from Tatiana.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she's from Russia, actually.
Oh, is she from Russia?
Could be wrong, though. I'm not entirely sure, but
I met her in Germany. That's the only way. That's the reason I'm saying Germany, because I met her and her kids. They're huge Walking Dead fans. They dressed up at this convention as they did a they actually won some awards because her daughter dressed up as Michonne, and it was really. But she's only like 7. You know what I mean? So it was like a little mini Michonne with a samurai sword walking around.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
So what is going on, Chris? You got I guess we should start by chatting just about your recent appearance on The Walking Dead, which is why we reached out to you, because we sort of cover The Walking Dead on our podcast. Creech and I are both huge fans.
Yeah, I am too.
So you're based out of New Orleans.
Sure.
But you must have spent some time in Los Angeles and did that. I
did 5 years out in L.A. Around the turn of the century, and I was there from like '98, starting around '98. I was there for off and on for about 5 years, and man, I don't want to dog L.A. A lot of people really love L.A., and there's lots of reasons to love L.A. But I just, I'm not a big city kind of guy, to be honest with you.
Right.
And at the time, I'm not exactly sure I was prepared, as a person to actually tackle what it takes to succeed in LA. So I got my heart broken, like on multiple levels by that city, by a girl, and actually it was probably mostly my fault anyway. But so it wasn't the best experience for me. I didn't really have a whole lot of success. I think I'm really doing a lot better here in the Southeast than I ever did out on the West Coast. But I will say that there's a lot that I took away from that later on in life that I can apply. But yeah, I did my stint out there.
What would you say you took away?
Well, just sort of how the business really works, and what they really, how like the nuts and bolts of it, It's funny because a lot of times you go out there, people go out there thinking, well, if I've got talent and drive, that's all it's going to take for me, and that's not necessarily the case, And especially nowadays, I think it's even worse now. There's a lot of bean counters involved in the whole entertainment world, and nowadays I think they even, at the time this wasn't the case, but nowadays I don't even know if you can get a manager or an agent out in Los Angeles these days if you don't have certain numbers like on social media, Twitter, Facebook, that kind of thing. It's just there's a lot of sort of kind of cynical things about the industry that I learned when I was out there that sort of, I don't know. Now I don't even think about it anymore. But at the time, it just kind of broke my heart.
It's funny you mentioned the followers and the social media thing because I agree with you. I had a bit of a career prior to this sort of social media explosion, and I'm not the kind of guy that likes to be on these things. And everyone's like, especially since you have to keep chasing the dragon. It's like, I got on Twitter about this time last year, right? And then everyone's like, you got to get on Snapchat and you got to do Instagram. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I can't spend all day on this phone thing, tapping and taking selfies and stuff. That's just ridiculous that you're going to judge someone's talent level on how many people. And here's what I was going to get at was, so I've noticed that, but when we shot that show at CMT, and I'm not going to name the YouTube guy, the YouTuber. I just don't want to throw anyone out there. But basically that show was picked up. It was a prank show of a YouTuber who had a huge subscription-based following on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And they shot the show, and it still hasn't aired. And one of the things that I constantly see out there is they want to make movies with these YouTubers, and they want to make TV shows with YouTubers, but what they're not seeing the transfer yet, and hopefully they'll get it, is people that watch somebody on YouTube, they watch them on YouTube. They don't necessarily want to, segue over to see them. Right. Yeah, it's not, because they're already watching them on YouTube, and that's the device that they want to watch things on with that person. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. I think there's probably some element of the whole reality TV craze to it all. I can remember when reality TV started. It started with Cops, I guess, and it just sort of, it caught some traction and started to steamroll. And there was a time when there was nothing but reality TV on. And anytime you change channel, it's one show after another with some reality show. And it's strange. I like the guy. Really quick, I like the guy that his claim to fame is, like you're saying, like when reality TV took off, but the guy that was on Cops too early, he was on Cops in 92, but he's just getting arrested, but he's like, God damn, I just got on reality TV too early. I was on Cops in 92 and 93. Then when I was paroled, I got on again in 94, but I haven't been able to get back on that show.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny, but it's strange. I mean, there is something kind of just really bizarre about people who are famous just simply for being famous. Like for Kim Kardashian, I think is one of the ones that sort of amazes me the most. It's like, why are we following this family again? I don't get it. I mean, I don't watch the show, but you know what I'm saying. It's just it's something kind of bizarre about it. I don't know.
No, but, I agree. I think that one is especially. Well, when you have the Caitlyn Jenner thing, the spin-off that goes that direction, then you start to wonder, how much did they suck Bruce in to him feeling like he's got to televise his life? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he's got to make a reality show now about his transformation, or her transformation.
Which is ultimately sort of odd because really that to me, and it's just me, man. But it seems to me like that would be something that I would want to kind of just be private about, it's just something between me and my very close family and friends if that were something that I would want to engage in it. But I don't know. There's no accounting for it. I can't explain it, man. To be honest with you, I don't really understand fame for fame's sake. I can understand like the utility of being famous because if you're an actor like myself or something, it just sort of boosts your chances of getting in front of people and getting more work. But fame, just for fame's sake, seems to me like it would just be a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah, exactly. Your achievement of fame within your body of work helps propel more work for you. You know,
exactly.
And I guess fame for fame's sake can propel more work, but it also, the last thing I want to be famous about is I still like to yell at the lady giving me the ticket at the parking, at the parking meter. I want to be able to pull that whole Midnight Cowboy thing and banging the thing, be like, "What are you doing? No way! I was pulling out." But when you become famous, you can't do that because all of a sudden there's some TMZ guy shooting across the street and it's like, "You shared it."
Yeah, you're under in a microscope. Yeah, and for that one moment when you're pissed off and you're venting, it goes up on TMZ and people, everybody sees that,
All right, so a lot of our listeners aren't complete insiders of the business, but everyone nowadays is pretty privy to what's going on, and we do talk the industry and what's going on. Now, you moved back to New Orleans, and New Orleans in the last 8 to 10 years has been a hotbed for film and television due to their tax benefits and incentives that they've had with production. So when you moved back there in 2004, first off, did you grow up in that area?
No, actually, I grew up in Texas. I was born in San Antonio. I was raised in a town out west of Texas called San Angelo. But what happened after Los Angeles, I kind of went back to Austin. Austin, I went to college in Austin after high school, so Austin was sort of my last.
Wait a second, I want to just clarify something. You went to college after high school?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Most people do that, so I just want to make sure that you didn't go before high school.
No, I went after, smart ass. But
so did you go to UT?
Yeah. I went to University of Texas my first 3 semesters, and then I transferred back to my hometown college at Angelo State University because I got offered a performing arts scholarship. So that was free college. But my first 3 semesters was at UT, and then I finished at Angelo State University. Then I went to LSU for graduate school. I studied under a man named John Dennis, who's no longer with us, God rest his soul. Amazing acting teacher. I studied in the professional actor training program at LSU, and that was my first real exposure to New Orleans. Now, on my mother's side of the family, way back, we're actually from New Orleans, but I was really the first of my family to go back. And I actually moved to New Orleans in September of 2009. So I really kind of caught I kind of got to New Orleans when it was really starting to kind of just pick up big time as far as the film and television stuff was concerned. So I've been here since then.
All right, so basically it didn't take you that long to sort of get it going there, since you were saying it's already booming. No.
In fact, I booked my first gig the day I got here. Actually, it was still like a one-day job. It was on one of those WWE movies, so it was, just like one scene, but it was sort of set the tone for what was to come.
Was that which one was that one? Knucklehead?
Knucklehead, yeah.
Knucklehead, yeah. By the way, I shot a movie down there called Bending the Rules with Edge. Did you know that one was when that was going on down there? That was another WWE.
No, but you know what? That might have been, what year was that? Do you remember?
I'm going to say 2011.
Okay. There might have been a few that slipped through the cracks. 2011 was really when I started to get the most traction.
Right.
I'm not sure if it was 11 or 12 when I shot Django Unchained, but that, and once I got cast in Django, it just seemed like, everything just sort of clicked. But yeah, it was weird. I tell people that literally New Orleans is the reason why I'm a proper working actor. As opposed to like an actor who has to have another job just to keep the bills paid.
Well, that's what I was going to get at. I didn't want to get into your financials, obviously, but because a lot of people think like actors make millions of dollars or whatever. Most actors say New Orleans or Atlanta. Even if you book 5 roles a year, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Great.
But nowadays they pay actors so little because all these things are. New media or ultra low budget or whatever it is. But even if it's television gigs, 1 week of work is only so much. So if you're doing 5 weeks of work at, whatever that rate might be, say $5,000 for a whole week, and that's a good pay that week, that's not going to sustain anybody. So do you feel like now you're at the point with, between television and all the films, that it's keeping you to just be a straight up actor at this point.
Yes, and I don't take that for granted. That's a milestone. You know, I had some of the best advice I ever got, really, from another actor, another working actor, was from James Remar on Django. And he told me, he said, you know, it's peaks and valleys for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. Just about everybody, unless you're probably Leo DiCaprio. And he told me, look, you know, when you're on top of that mountain, put away as much as you can for the times when you're going to be back down in that valley. And I'll never forget that, because it really is fantastic advice. You got to take some, you know, time to think about what's going to happen, not just tomorrow, but next year, or, you know, 2 years from now, or you know, and you can't just sort of sit back on your laurels and just think that momentum's always going to be there, because, you know, everybody is subject to times where it's dry. So you kind of have to I don't know. For me personally, I have a savings account, and I don't take anything for granted. I'm glad I've got it, because most of my adult life I didn't have one. I was eating ramen noodles and scraping. So, but yeah, and the thing is, you know, you never know what's going to happen with where you are at the time. You know, the previous governor in the legislature in Louisiana just basically ran our state budget into the ground. You know, kind of similar to what happened with Kansas with Brownback, you know, giving all these tax breaks to the really, really rich corporations. And now we're looking at a huge budget hole, and they may have to take away some of these tax incentives from film and television.
That's what I heard they were already taking them away. So,
well, they put a cap on them. They put a cap
okay.
of $180 million a year on them, which is really, it sounds bad, but that's actually, I'm not even sure that we had $180 million last year anyway. So it's not as bad as it sounds, but I'm going to tell you right now, Georgia is booming. They are absolutely booming, because they have absolutely no intentions of doing anything with their tax incentives.
No,
so
Jimmy Carter's son.
A lot of money.
Yeah, Carter's son is basically, he's committed to having that be permanent. You know what I mean? And not sort of bypassing the, you know, having these people bring their infrastructure down, build the studios, the Pinewood Studios. There's a new one coming in and stuff. You know, because a lot of times, like in Detroit or say New Orleans, they have the stuff, and then next thing you know, they cancel the incentive, and all these people move, you know, the below-the-line people, camera people, grip people, they all move down there with their families, and now they got to relocate somewhere else. So
right, exactly. So
you know, the one thing I heard from friends of mine that have shot a lot of films down there, I saw you were in a Will Ferrell movie, The Get Hard one. What I heard from a lot of these producers in L.A. is they're kind of getting a little scarce on sort of virgin settings that haven't been in movies. You know what I mean? It's like, like that's already been in this, or this has been in that. So that's something that needs to be considered a little bit too. So
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I'm lucky enough that I live not too far from Georgia, so I could still work in Georgia if the work's there. But you know, I don't know. Like I said, you just never can tell what's going to be going on, you know, for the foreseeable future. I try to be flexible. That's really all I can do, you know. And, you know, hey, who knows? I may at some point have to end up moving to Georgia or moving to Los Angeles or whatever. But for now, I'm pretty happy where I'm at.
Let me ask you a question, since, you know, I do a bit of characters and a lot of stuff I do, and you're pretty much kind of harking back to an old school character actor, you know what I mean, which is a working actor, you know, a guy that's like you have a certain a look to you, and it works to your advantage of, like, you know, I wouldn't say you're going to get completely pigeonholed, but you have this sort of a, you know, blue collar sort of rough look, you know, you're not the pretty boy leading man, but because of that, do you tend to like say, I'm going to keep like a 2-week beard on me, you know, because I can always shave down, but I can't. Yeah. That way I go in and I've got like a little bit of a beard at all times, so that way it depends on what the role is.
Yeah, I keep my beard at about a number 2 on a clipper guard.
Yeah.
Because I, you know, I do that because like you just said, if they need a clean shaven, I could go in and shave it off, you know, in 5 minutes, not a big deal. But a lot of times I will go in for roles that sort of need me to be a little rougher, and the beard absolutely helps. Now, I do use that Just for Men, and I color it sometimes just to get the gray out, and I'll drop a few years when I get the gray out.
Yeah.
At the moment, I haven't cut my hair since I shot that episode of The Walking Dead, so my hair's gotten kind of long. But
exactly,
that's not hard. You can cut my hair, shave my beard, and I'm a totally different guy. I had a mohawk for Salem for good 6 months. So.
Yeah. Now that's a hard one. When you get the mohawk, that takes a long time for that thing to kind of grow back, right? So
yeah, man, that was weird. When I showed up for that, and I'm the one who suggested that there be like a mohawk because it was sort of a connection with the Native Americans, which I kind of wanted that connection to be there. So, and they were cool with that. They liked that idea. But yeah, man, it was tough. I tell you what, my girlfriend, God bless her, she's seen me go through so many different looks, and she stuck with it the whole time. I know it had to have been tough to see me in the mohawk every time. But, yeah, I know for a fact she loves me for myself because, if I had been her, I probably would have said, no, it's not going to work out.
That's for sure a sign of true love. Now, going back to The Walking Dead, how was the audition process? Now, what did you have to do to get on the show?
What happened was, I'd gone out for that. That show several times. In fact, I misremembered. I thought that I had actually gone out for Daryl's role, but when I think about it, I think I went out for Merle's role, for Michael Rooker's role, before the pilot was even cast. And I must have put myself on tape 4 or 5 times for the show over the course of 4 or 5 seasons. The local casting for that show is the casting directors are the Finn Cannons, based out of they used to be based out of North Carolina, but and I had read for the Finn Cannons since 1996. I've known Mark and Lisa May and Craig for almost 20 years now, so I was always on their radar. But I guess I didn't really click for the stuff that they were submitting me for up until this particular character came along. And it's interesting because The Walking Dead, they're so secretive that when they give you sides to read for an audition, they're fake sides.
Yeah, so, Mark actually writes the sides. I didn't know if you knew that.
Oh no, I didn't know that. But
so they'll talk to Mark, and because I guess he's the better writer than Lisa May or whatever. They'll say like, this is the role, this is what we're doing, but they won't have anything to do with the zombies. It'll be something with something else. Right. You're working at a zoo or something like that. But
yeah, like for example, for me, I was actually my character in the sides. I was a military guy, and I was stopping an Iraqi family at a military checkpoint in Iraq, and I was telling them that all their stuff now belongs to Uncle Sam. So yeah. So anyway, but I put myself on tape for it, and literally a couple days later, got the call and want you in Atlanta tomorrow. So that's kind of how fast it all went down.
But hold on, because now see, you were in the mid-season finale, right?
Right. Well,
and you didn't actually shoot that scene then. You just shot that moment right there, right?
Well, what they did was they shot the first half of the scene during episode 8 filming.
Yep.
And then they shot the second half of that scene during episode 9 filming. So there was like about a 2-week gap in between shooting the first half of that scene and the second half of that scene. But the scene itself literally plays all together. Well,
now for the Eagle Eye fans, really quick, is there any difference in anything you're wearing, or say your beard length, or anything like that?
Mm-mm. Not really. I mean, everything was pretty much exactly the same. They were pretty meticulous about it. In fact, the bracelet that I was wearing on my left hand in the scene was a bracelet that my girlfriend had got me. It's a Leatherman bracelet. It's actually a multi-tool. And I actually let Wardrobe keep that bracelet over the time that I went back home in between the first and second half of the scene, simply because they would have it and there would be no danger of me forgetting it and not having it on the day or whatever. But I think if there's any difference whatsoever in between the scenes, my hair probably was 2 weeks longer than it was to begin with. But other than that, no, it was pretty much the same.
I like the idea that it's the only time you ever really needed that bracelet tool. Like, oh man, I need that half inch wrench thing. God damn it, they have it.
Yeah.
Well, for me, here's the thing though. When you booked that role, and so when did you know that you were going to be one of like Negan's scouts and stuff like that? When did you know what the real role was?
Well, they told me the night before we shot it. And they gave me this code for this website where I could download my sides, and I only got my sides. I didn't get the entire script. which is fine because I actually, I'm a fan of the show, and I kind of would rather watch what happens than, have it spoiled for me in the script. So I knew I was going to be one of Negan's guys. I was going to introduce Negan, which was really, really cool. I didn't know that I was going to get blown up at the end of the scene until 2 weeks later when I was shooting the second half of the scene the night before. And
oh, my gosh.
I was really bummed out.
Because that's what I thought.
Yeah.
When I watched, here's my initial reaction when I watched you, which is why we reached out to chat with you. First of all, it was an amazing performance. From an actor point of view, from me being an actor, I'm going to tell you, I love the sort of Meisner technique of the thank yous that you did when you were taking the guns, and you're just like, the person's like, thank you. And then you mouthed it. Oh, hilarious, dude. And all I was saying was, yes, I'm going to love this character. This guy, oh, fuck, this guy. Yeah, of course, I want to see this dude just be brutal, being one of Negan's dudes, right? You know what I'm saying? And I also thought, like, this guy got the lottery. Oh, shit, he got a great role. And he's probably so stoked. And so I can imagine that 2-week period for you was like, oh, yeah, this is some, I'm going to go, let me check out that Chevy Avalanche right now. I know that Peaks and Valleys thing is saving stuff, but fuck that, this is fucking Walking Dead.
Right. Well, honestly, man, the worst part of all of that, once I figured out, okay, I'm going to get blown up, but, Greg took me aside and he said, listen, man, I know that you're bummed out because you're going to blow you up, but, this is really an iconic moment, and especially the comic book fans are just going to lose their shit when they hear you say that name. So, he was really cool about making me feel all right about it. I tell you what the worst part about it all was when it was all said and done, and when the that prologue first aired, all my friends and family saw that prologue, and they all thought, oh, shoot, this is so awesome. Can't wait to see what happens this season. You're so lucky, and we're so proud of you, blah, blah, blah. And I'd signed that NDA, that non-disclosure agreement, so I had to shut my mouth and not say anything, even to my mom. And that was really what was the hardest part, is to listen to all these people say all this wonderful stuff and not be able to tell them, no, guys, don't get your hopes up. This is going to be pretty short-lived. It's going to be spectacular, but it's going to be pretty short-lived. That was rough, but I managed to do it.
My buddy, I don't know if you know Lou Temple. Do you know who Lou Temple is?
No, I don't think so.
Christopher, I know you said you're a fan of the show. Lou Temple played Axel in season 3 of The Walking Dead. He was the prisoner with the long mustache that wound up getting killed by the governor when he was talking to Carol.
So he's a good friend of mine, and it's because I'm a fan of the show. I was constantly bugging him, and I'm like, hey, when you come out to L.A., let's hang out. So, and it was hard for him to tell me that he was dead because he couldn't because of the NDA thing. But it was like, he's like, I'm not, dude, I'm sorry, I'm so slammed, I'm not blowing you off. But and then when he finally died, he's like, now you know why I wasn't.
Right. Yeah, and I've had to do this before. I've had to sign NDAs before, but this was the first time that it really hurt to not be able to say anything. It really was. It was a huge bummer. I think it was worse than getting blown up, to be honest with you. It's just not being able to, like.
Here's the funny thing about being blown up is it really is an epic death on The Walking Dead because there's not a lot of people just being literally obliterated because you weren't blown up. You guys were obliterated.
I think Greg told us that we had the distinction of being the first people ever on the show to die by RPG. So, hey, that's something that's pretty cool.
But it also takes away from your moment of, oh, I just want that, a blade taking off half my head or some sort of like stab through the chest or whatever it is. Like you don't have that moment. It's like you blink and you're gone. You know what I mean?
Right. And there's really no chance of there being a Walker Bud. There's just not. My head was
they might find Walker Bud's teeth. Yeah.
Right. But a lot of people ask me if I got the chance to keep that head because, it would have been a great souvenir. And I'm still hoping that someday it shows up on my front doorstep in a FedEx box. But and then it occurred to me, but hey, you never know, man. Negan might actually run across that head at some point in the future. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Now, me and Dave, I believe, both have brought this up in talking to you so far, that the Walking Dead fans pay really close attention to every single detail and every single scene to try to find hints at what's coming up next. Shortly after your last episode aired, the Twitter sphere blew up over a supposed car that was seen in the background running right before you got blown up. Now, did you know anything about that while they were filming?
I had several fans ask me about that on that Reddit AMA I did. Truthfully, though, I have no idea. I didn't even know anything about it until somebody pointed it out. I actually saw an article, I think, on Yahoo News one morning about it a couple of days after the show. I don't know what it was, man. I really don't. Might have been like a mistake, or it might have been intentional. No idea.
For the mid-season premiere, I know you said you got it with the finale. I'm assuming you got the insides for that episode too, correct?
Yeah, the first set of sides I got for the first section that we filmed, the sides ended with "Your property now belongs to Negan." So I didn't know anything else about what was coming until literally like the night before when I got the second set of sides for the second shoot day. So yeah, I'm in my hotel room in Atlanta, reading the sides, and I get to the end of it, and RPG explosion, and I'm just like, ah.
So okay, we're going to hit you with a bunch of questions from the fans, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
So the first one from the woman that I thought was from Germany, Tatiana. Maybe she's from Russia, but she wanted to know how Bud got involved with Negan's gang in the first place.
Well, I can't really give her specifics because, I have sort of a backstory in my head, but a lot of it was really it's sort of after the fact. But the way I see it, I kind of figured this is a guy who was probably, I say he's a drywaller from Port Arthur, Texas, and a motorcycle enthusiast. But what I kind of sort of envision is that when all of this went down, that he took his family and was trying to get to his grandfather's place in the Shenandoah Valley.
Right.
And he just gradually lost more and more of his family along the way and sort of really kind of lost his mind, lost his sanity, kind of like Morgan did, And and I can imagine him just sort of rolling up or being rolled up on by Negan's gang and being sort of given an ultimatum. He's like, you can roll with us or we can take your bike and kill you. And he just sort of, got absorbed into Negan's group. And I think that steadily he just sort of adapted to this new world and, the fact that you're just going to have to be brutal and it's going to be the predators who rise to the top. And he didn't have anything else to live for. His family was gone. And he sort of found a new quote-unquote family with Negan's gang, albeit a much more brutal one. And found that he was pretty damn good at what he was doing. And Negan sort of took note of that and sort of promoted him up the chain. And by the point that we meet Bud, in my episode, he's sort of gotten back to the point where he's almost sort of enjoying life again, Because you kind of get that element from him a little bit. He kind of, sort of enjoys what he's doing, He's okay with the world that he's in right now, and it's I don't know if it's a comfort level so much. It's just that this is the world that he lives in now, and he's good at what he does, And I also get the impression that he's fanatically loyal to Negan and how Negan does things, Because really, you find over and over that the people sort of tend to gravitate to strong figures in the Walking Dead world. You got Rick, you got the governor, you got Negan. It's people just sort of gravitate to strong characters, and some of these strong characters are good people like Rick, and some of these strong characters are not so good people like Negan.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, well, you definitely would have to be loyal for you to even be in the position you were in. You don't get there by not being loyal to him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I would think that one of the reasons you sort of embellish and love the moments that you get to go, hey, your shit is property of Negan's now, is because how often are you really running into people? You're at a point now where it's like, well, goddamn, when we started this a month ago, we were hitting people right now. It's like,
right.
We're kind of hanging here. There's a couple of days when we come back with nothing.
Right. And, that's another thing. I think that's another reason. That's a good point. I think that's another reason why Bud's in such a good mood is because they just found a truck full of fuel. and
right.
and who knows what else. You know, I mean, it's a good day. He's going to be able to come back to his boss, and his boss is going to be pretty damn happy with what we came back with. So yeah, I think that's another reason why Bud's is sort of a good mood, and it's probably more than a little more willing on this particular occasion to cut them some slack. You know,
right.
And I think he was. I think he was prepared to cut them some slack at the very beginning. But there's also that dynamic. You know, you can't look weak in front of your men. I mean, you look at these guys behind me. You know, those are some pretty sandy dudes. So,
right.
You know, I think it's important that he feels like he needs to kind of stay tough in the eyes of his men, and part of that is just basically just being a stone cold killer when it calls for it.
Hey,
I think he would have killed Abraham.
Killer.
I'm not sure he would have killed Sasha. I think he might have used Sasha as sort of a way to manipulate Daryl, because I think he's out of all three of them. I think he probably would gravitate the most to Daryl, because I think he would probably look at Daryl and go, "Hey, man, this is who I was at one point."
Next up is a question from our listener, JL Uke. He says, I always wonder if it's fun playing the part of a bad guy. Having the lines is one thing, but adding the feeling behind them. Does it feel good to be just that mean?
Yeah, I do. I'm not going to lie. It's fun to be a bad guy sometimes. I tell you what, though, it's also kind of nice to be the good guy sometimes as well. In real life, I'm nothing like my characters most of the time. But when I play a good guy, I'm often closer to me than when I play a bad guy. But I'm not going to lie, it can be really fun to play the bad guy. Also, honestly, though, it's funner to play a bad guy that you would like than just a straight-up bad guy that you hate from the outset. You know, in fact, Greg and I were talking about how he wanted this character to kind of come off, and you know, he said he really wanted this character to be different than just your straight-up tough guy. I mean, if you look at this guy. Especially, you know, I'm 5'7", 140. There's nothing physically intimidating about me, especially not when I'm standing toe-to-toe with Michael Cudlitz. You know, that guy's a big guy.
Right.
But it's so he wanted him to be not necessarily physically intimidating, but more psychologically intimidating, which I think is much more interesting as an actor anyway. And, of course, I don't need to be physically intimidating. I got a whole crew of dudes with automatic weapons behind me. And even if they didn't have automatic weapons, these are some bruisers. So... You know, that's kind of where I took it from. But yeah, it is fun. It's fun to play the bad guy, but it's not. You know, you don't want to get typecast as the bad guy, obviously. But yeah, it's fun.
Now, with that being said, are you surprised by the reception that your character has gotten from the entire Walking Dead fan base?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I am. Especially when I did that AMA on Reddit, I was really just kind of blown away with the number of people and the positive responses that they were throwing out there. You know, I mean, I knew it was going to be kind of an iconic moment, you know, mentioning Negan and all that stuff, but I really am a little bit shocked at how well received that character was, and gratified too. You know, any actor that tells you that they don't care about how, you know, their work is perceived as just a stone cold liar, you know. But yeah, I was a little shocked, to be honest with you, and delighted as well.
All right. Now, you said you were a fan of the show before coming on to play Bud. Did you happen to be a fan of the comics? Were you aware of any goings-on in the comics before you booked the show?
No, like once I got cast, or actually once I got the audition for this particular character, I read a lot of forums and stuff like that about it, so I kind of knew who Negan was, and so one of my roommates is a huge comic junkie, so I did check out a few of the Negan comics just to kind of get a feel for who this guy was and who his men were, et cetera, but no, I think now, though, I'm going to go back to episode 1 of the comics, and I think I'm just going to read them all the way through, because it sounds like there's a lot of really cool stuff that the show doesn't necessarily hit on that you can pick up from the comics. So, yeah, I plan on devouring them all.
Awesome. Sounds like a great plan.
Samantha Bowman from Twitter asked, what genre is your favorite to act in, you know, and why?
Oh, that's easy. Western.
Western.
I grew up in West Texas. I grew up watching Westerns with my uncle, who's no longer with us. I love that genre. I love horses. I mean, I love the period, you know. I love the costumes. I love the old guns. Western hands down. The last film I did was a film called Free State of Jones. It's a Civil War movie.
Yeah,
And,
you know what?
Just,
we're going to talk about that too at the very end here. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a Civil War movie. It's set during the Civil War, and then there's scenes that are shot that are afterwards as well. But yeah, it was just really great to inhabit a character from that time period. The beard was pretty bushy and long, and that was kind of annoying, especially when you're eating. But yeah, I really enjoy period films. I like going back in time. It's just really cool. I've never played in a medieval type setting. I would love to give that a try. I would kill to get on Game of Thrones, for example, because I'm a huge fan of that show as well. But yeah, as far as I can say right now, Western is hands down my favorite genre.
Nice. And have you ever owned a horse then?
What's that?
You ever own a horse then?
Oh yeah. I don't own one, but I've been riding horses since I was a kid.
Right.
My great grandfather was a foreman of a 8-section ranch in West Texas for his whole life, pretty much. My mother grew up on a ranch, and so yeah, I've always been close to horses. I love horses. They're amazing creatures. Someone asked me if I could ride a motorcycle. No, the answer is I've never ridden a motorcycle in my life, but I can definitely ride a horse.
If casting asked you though that you could ride a motorcycle or play guitar or whatever it might be, you probably say yes, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I do play guitar, not well anymore, but I used to play pretty good. It's like
right.
It's like speaking a foreign language. If you don't keep doing it, you lose it. You get rusty. But yeah, if they wanted me to play guitar or ride a motorcycle, I'd figure it out. I would learn.
Yep.
Because that's what you do, and that's one of the cool things about being an actor is that you learn all kinds of stuff in order to inhabit the characters that you play. I love that about it. It's one of my favorite parts.
For me, by the way, I haven't played a cowboy yet, or haven't been in a Western. And so that's one that's still on my bucket list. I did get to do an astronaut, and I got to do the spacewalk in the suit, where they floated me. So that was that was my bucket list. There's things, you got to play the cop. You want to play the bad guy. You want to play a superhero.
Yeah.
You got to play. You want to wear that cape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like.
I would love to be in an astronaut type movie, and honestly, Star Wars. That's like any actor's just absolute dream is to be a part of the Star Wars universe. So that would be cool too. But in a movie like Gravity, that'd just be a really cool role to play. The spacesuit and all that stuff.
Yeah. So what got you in? This is also from Samantha. What made you decide to get into acting then?
Well, I never intended to be an actor in the first place, to be honest with you, man. I did some in high school. I did some acting in high school, and I was pretty good at it. But ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to go to the Naval Academy, and I wanted to fly naval aircraft. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And, some things happened in my life. My dad got killed when I was 15 years old by a drunk driver, and my mom was getting remarried when I was 18 to my stepdad, who she's still married to. He's a wonderful man. I call him Dad now. He is my dad. But at the time, I was kind of scared about my mom getting remarried, my sister, and being with this guy, and me being in Annapolis, Maryland. And if you're in the Naval Academy, you can't just up and come home whenever you want, So I decided to stay closer to home and go to UT, and I figured I would go to UT, get a degree, and then I would either join the Navy or the Marine Corps, whichever one of them was more likely to let me fly. And I was working in the oil field during the summers and on spring break and during Christmas break to pay for tuition for college in my hometown. And I came back home from Austin for the summer in between semesters, and I was working in the oil field. And I decided, I need something to do at night, to just to do something because I'm, kind of going crazy. So there was this dinner theater play going on at the local college, Angelo State University. And I was like, well, man, maybe I'll get into this play, and that's something to do. And I got cast as the lead. It was a Neil Simon play called Come Blow Your Horn. And after the first performance of the play, the professor named Dr. Raymond Carver, not to be confused with the writer, a brilliant man, Yale-educated playwright, he took me aside and invited me to his house. There was a cast party for a play that he had just finished going down, cast and crew party. And so I went to this party, and he pulled me aside, took me into his office at his house at this party, and he sat me down, and he said, you need to be an actor, And if you'll quit school at UT, come transfer here to Angelo State University, I'll give you a full performing arts scholarship. And I was like, really? Free college? Okay. There was really not much of I didn't really have to think about it too much, I could help my mom and my stepdad, but, it wasn't really too much to think about. So that's what I did. And, here I am now. It's kind of weird how things work out, but yeah, it was almost sort of just serendipitous that it just sort of happened that way. But I do credit this man, and actually still talk to him on the phone occasionally. I do credit him for setting me on the path to become an actor, and I'm honestly I'm glad he did. It's been tough, but definitely rewarding and worth it.
Now we're kind of going to switch things up a bit for the next question. What was your favorite memory working on the set of Salem?
Favorite memory? That's a good question. I think Shane West and I got to be pretty good buds while working on that show, and I think my favorite times were just sitting and shooting the shit with Shane in between scenes in our last episode where they cut my throat. See, the thing about that is that I probably could have stayed on Salem if I hadn't booked Free State of Jones, because we were shooting Free State of Jones at the same time that they were going to be shooting Salem season 2. But they didn't have me under contract, and they didn't block aside a time that that they wanted me to do the show, and I wasn't getting any communication from them prior to that. So I got a chance to work as to play a supporting lead in a Matthew McConaughey Civil War movie, and I jumped at it. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So they cut my throat as a way to sort of just get rid of me. Not exactly sure why they needed to cut my throat. I mean, Petrus was a hermit that lived in the woods in a hut that could change locations at will, and he could be, completely lost to anybody, unfindable to anybody if he wanted to be. So I don't exactly know why they felt they needed to cut my throat, but they did. So here I am. Well, it's what it is. It's just kind of the way things go.
It is weird why they would. Go ahead. Sorry, Creech. Go ahead.
Oh no, you finished. Because I was going to go into the next question.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that, I agree with what he's saying. Is with your character, you really didn't need to get killed off and get your throat cut. And it was just kind of a weird thing of why they would even, I'm trying to think with my producer's head on there of like what that would be about. Because, you watch a lot, obviously you watch The Walking Dead, and one thing that they're constantly fighting against is such a large cast and the cost of having the cast in episodes, you know what I mean, and keeping people as recurring versus making them regular cast members. And so that's why sometimes you see, like, Michael Cudlitz was not in that episode at all, or, this last time, because they wanted to save money. If they had him in any scene, it's like, there you go, that's your full fee right there. So
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and there's a thing too. I'm not bitter about it or anything, but I think sometimes regional actors are looked at a little bit differently than actors that are coming out of the West Coast or New York. I think there's this attitude of like some of the producers on some certain shows that you're just sitting by the phone waiting for it to ring, and that you'll just jump at the chance to be back in the show, and it's not really, that's not the case with some of us. I move on with my life. If I'm not under contract with someone, if they don't, and if I'm not given any sort of info, or if they don't reach out to me, then I'm going to take what comes along if it attracts me. And certainly if it's something like Free State of Jones, I got to play Matthew McConaughey's best friend and first lieutenant in that movie, and there's no way that I'm going to turn down that role. The only way that it's going to turn down is if someone's already got me signed on the dotted line.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And that movie looks great. And I do want to hit that. On our way out, I kind of want to just actually talk about it a little bit and promote it a little bit because it's coming out this year, right?
Yeah, May 13th, actually.
May 13th. So let's finish up these questions here. We got what was the last question, Creech, from these fans?
Now, the next question is actually also from Samantha Bowman. She says, The Walking Dead cast and crew are extremely close-knit. How are you welcomed to the Walking Dead family on your first day of set?
Oh, man, it was awesome. And I got to say, as a day player, as somebody that just sort of comes in, has to do a job, and then it goes away, obviously. A lot of times if you do that on a show, it can feel really kind of bleak, and you feel really out of place. But that was absolutely not the case with The Walking Dead. From the moment I got on set, everyone was just incredibly welcoming and just very cool. And I'm talking all the way down from, the set PA or the base camp PA all the way to Greg Nicotero and the cast members that I worked with. Everyone was just so cool and so welcoming and just so friendly. And literally, I just instantly felt like I was part of the family. And that is unusual. That is very, very unusual. But yeah, they were just really, really cool people, all of them.
Now, other than any of the cast that you actually acted with in the scenes, were there any other actors from the show that you got to interact or meet with?
I got to meet Andy. I think he was at the craft service halfway through the day, and I'm not exactly sure what he was doing on set. But he came up to me and shook my hand and told me that Norman had been raving about my performance, which is just absolutely the best compliment you can get from one actor, to hear that another actor really digs your work, especially Norman, because I really respect Norman quite a bit. So yeah, I got a chance to kind of just chit-chat for a second with Andy and meet him. And I got to say, just a really terrific guy. Really, really cool. All of them were, man. They were all really cool. I got to shoot the shit with Michael about him playing Bull Randleman and Band of Brothers. And I got to spend some time talking with Shaniqua, just a sweet, sweet lady. She's a fellow Southerner. So yeah, they were all just really cool. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet any of the others. I would have liked to have, but there just wasn't really any reason why I would have, because they were all working on other things at the time. This is sort of a second unit kind of thing going on, even though Greg was in charge of it. This was sort of off on a back rows, and there was other work being done elsewhere. So I didn't really get a chance to interact with anybody else, but. So yeah, I got to meet 4 of them. So
so let's talk about really quick. Just let's get a little chat in, brief chat about this Free State of Jones. You guys, this is going to be a big movie. I mean, this is Gary Ross, Matthew McConaughey, his co-star. You like you said, you what was your character again?
His name is Jasper Collins. He's based on a real man from southeast Mississippi, from Jones County, Jasper Collins, who was actually a pretty revered figure in that area. The film is basically it's a story. It's about Newton Knight, which was Matthew's character. He was a man who he's kind of a controversial figure in that area of Mississippi, depending on how you looked at him. But what essentially was he and a number of other men deserted from the Confederate Army when they realized that, well, there was multiple factors, but they deserted from the Confederate Army. They went home and they basically protected their farms and each other's farms from the depredations of the tax collectors, the Confederate Army tax collectors, who would basically come to these poor farms, take all their corn, take their horses, take their hogs, to use to the army, and leave these people to starve to death. So what ended up happening was there was this big rebellion in that part of the state of Mississippi, and all these guys joined together and formed a company called the Knight Company, and Newton Knight was the captain, and Jasper Collins was his first lieutenant, and they basically fought the Confederacy, and they attempted to be recognized by the Union and join the Union. But at one point in time, they raised the United States flag over Ellisville, Mississippi, the town of Ellisville, and they declared the Free State of Jones, those counties, and they held off the Confederacy practically till the end of the war. And this is probably the most famous case, but and I didn't even know this, and I'm a Civil War buff, but there was actually quite a few Unionists in the Confederacy, pro-Union Southerners, who were against the Confederacy, who didn't want to break away from the United States, and there were pockets of them all over the South. Since the war, those stories have kind of been tucked under the rug, and there's been a lot of revisionist history about them. But it's just now, and it's odd that in this point in time, the 21st century, that these stories are starting to come out, and so starting to see the light of day, and so that's basically what the film is about.
Right. It totally makes sense. I mean, it would almost seem even to make less sense that some Mason-Dixon line divided an entire population would agree let's secede from the Union and fight, right? It makes more sense if there was, if we were at this turmoil in our own country at the time of where the different directions people wanted to take the country, well, then, of course, it was going to be split in many different factions and many different ideas. We're only 100 years old at that point, you know, or even less, actually. But at the same time, like you're saying, like, you guys in this thing sort of represent that kind of, you know, right back to the revolution of a libertarian sort of movement of that don't tread on me, like, hey, you know, we don't want to be told that we're fighting against this government. We don't, and it's not our war, it's the war for the plantation owners, and saying we're poor farmers and you're taking our stuff, you know?
Yeah. In fact, it's interesting you just say that. There was and this is actually covered in the movie, there was a new conscription act that the Confederate government issued. And there was part of that conscription act, there was this clause called the 20 Negro Law. And what that said was that if you owned or leased 20 Negroes, if your family owned or leased 20 Negroes, then the eldest son of the family is exempt from military service. And it went up. It went for every 20 Negroes after that, you would get another family member exempt. So on these big plantations, you essentially had, you know, whole families of fighting age men that they weren't required to fight in the war because they owned slaves. And for these poor farmers who didn't own slaves or didn't necessarily even approve of slavery, had to fight this war, it was just incredibly unfair to ask them to fight for these rich planter families. And so a lot of them, once that conscription act came out, they took off their uniforms and went home. And to be honest, I would have too. Jasper Collins and he actually said this, he said, well, this makes it a rich man's war and a poor man's fight. And that's exactly what it was, you know?
I like the idea that even back then it was like, oh, man, does he own all those slaves? No, he's just leasing. He's just leasing. So he's not really, he doesn't really have all of them.
Yeah, like people did, some people who had slaves, who kept slaves, they didn't even necessarily own them. They were renting them from someone who owned them.
Right.
I don't think a lot of people really even, you know that.
Yeah. Instead of 12,000 miles per year, you can only have 12,000 something.
Right.
You can only have them pick 12,000 barrels of cotton a year. You know, once you're over that, then I'm going to charge you more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's crazy. You know, slavery is just such a horrible institution. But you know, living here in New Orleans, they think about it. There was this canal that was built back during that time period called the Irish Channel, and literally they were pulling Irish off the boats, and the only job that they could get in town was to dig this channel. But it was the malaria and the typhoid and all that was so bad that they didn't use slaves to do this channel, which they normally would have, because so many people were dying every day that it would have been a financial disaster for the slave owners had they used their slaves to do it. So they just basically took the Irish and had the Irish do it.
Yeah, because they're working pennies on the day versus I have a lot of money invested in this human being. You know what I mean? So
yeah, because slaves were actually a very valuable and expensive commodity back in that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just make me feel better because I'm Irish. Now I can feel like I was down south even more, right? No, it's good.
Yeah, I've got some Irish in me too. So solidarity, brother.
Now, did you know Matthew at all from Texas, from UT, or from Austin, or that area, or anything?
No, I met Matthew when I worked with him on True Detective, actually.
Right.
That was the first time I'd ever met him. We're both big UT fans for UT football, so we kind of hit it off right away. And he was born in Uvalde, which is kind of close to where I grew up, in West Texas. So, but yeah, that was the first time I met him was on True Detective. And it was really just the day that I played that scene where he beat the shit out of me, which was a pretty intense day.
You got the wrong end of the stick on that one, though, right?
Well, he said to me, it's funny because it was such an intimate scene. It was shot in this prison cell, and it was very close-up stuff. He says to me, he says, "Well, I'm gonna have to rough you up a little bit in this scene. Not gonna be all right with you." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But do me a favor." Do me a favor. And he says, "What? What's that?" I said, "Put some pepper on it. Don't hit me like a fucking girl." And he just grinned, and he goes, "I wouldn't expect anything less from a man from San Angelo, Texas." And then he proceeded to ring my bell.
Wow.
I was feeling that for a couple of days after, but it was worth it. It was totally worth it. Don't get me wrong.
How many takes, though?
It was good to work for the capacity where he's not hitting me. What's that?
How many takes was the scene that he had? You know, how many times he had to do it?
It was about a half a day. I'm going to say, because it was, you know, we had a master shot and we had close-ups, we had mid-range shots, and I think there might have been some dolly stuff going on, but it had to have been at least 12 to 15 takes total.
Oh my gosh!
And that's not counting the, you know, camera reloads or, you know, that kind of stuff that happens, you know, where you have, you know, you're in the middle of a take and you have something, lighting goes wrong or something like that. So yeah, it was at least 12 to 15 full takes.
Yeah.
And we both, you know, we went full throttle. There was no, you know, and we both are sort of of the same mind that it's worth it, you know, taking a little bit of pain if you're going to make a really great scene. And that was a really pivotal, kind of important scene for the whole show. You know,
right.
Basically saying, hey, you didn't catch the guy. You thought you did, but you didn't. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this film looks great, The Free State of Jones, and I think you're.
Thank you, man.
This is going to be, you know, this is a good year for you because you've got this Walking Dead thing is like the start of it, and now I think when this film comes out, America's really going to, you know, really going to know who Christopher Barry is. You know.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It really is gratifying. You know, it sucks because, you know, you'll shoot something and then you have to wait a year to see it. So at this point, I'm just excited to see the movie. You know, we worked really hard on it. My best buddy plays kind of, you know, my counter, like my partner, the other lieutenant in the Nice Company is an actor named Sean Bridgers.
Okay.
He's my best friend. He got me into the business. Really, the first film I ever did was with him. And so I got to spend 3.5 months trooping through the swamp behind Matthew McConaughey with my best buddy, and it's fun. Now I just can't wait to see the movie. And I've got a couple of other things coming out that I'm looking forward to seeing as well. But that one's probably the biggest on you know, in my mind. Can't wait to see it. So, but thank you so much. I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah, awesome.
That was really awesome, man.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate that.
All right, well, that's all the questions we have on our end. I do want to say you're just an absolute blast to interview.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Come on down there in New Orleans. Now I'll throw you a hello.
Definitely, same here.
Yeah, throw me a hello, man. We'll go have a couple of beers, eat some food.
You got it. You got
All right,
it.
well, you guys take it easy. It was a real pleasure meeting you.
All right, you got it, man.
Same here, man.
All right, now that was I think that was a fun interview, Dave.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love chatting with, like, real actors, you know, and actors that just have been at it for a long time and have really, like, spent time on their craft, you know what I mean? Like, gone to college and gone to classes and still maintain practice, you know what I mean? Like, if you're, like, a black belt in martial arts, you're still practicing, or if you're an amazing pianist, you're still playing the piano and practicing, right? So that's the same thing with acting. You've got to continue, even when he's not working, he's working on acting, you know. And but like you said, he's been in so many things. Now that it's coming to light, and this next movie with Matthew McConaughey, I think, is really gonna sort of set him on a whole another level of career path. You know what I'm saying? I could see this guy getting up into that. You know, this will be the first step getting into these movies that are just these bigger spectrum movies, kind of like The Revenant. He could have been a character in The Revenant for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think, like you were just saying, I think he's, as a name, he's definitely about to blow up, no pun intended, in the industry, and continue to get even bigger roles.
Yeah, he reminds me of a Chris Cooper. He's kind of like a Chris Cooper. So
I definitely can see that. And I could see him having definitely a successful career as Chris Cooper has had. I mean, he's still making tons of movies now. But yeah, it's just really cool. And I think what makes this podcast 10 times better than Creech Questions, because, you know, I'd done that for 40 some odd episodes before this, is the fact that obviously, I mean, I've mainly been doing podcasting. I've done a little acting, but nothing really too into the film business, so to speak. So it's interesting to have not only me bringing up questions, but you bringing in questions, plus your expertise and doing film for so long, that it brings another, I guess you could say, an element to the interviews where, You have me, who's still kind of the semi-clueless guy, but then you, who can also go deeper into some of the questions than I could because you have that knowledge.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, I definitely when we get some of these people on, I want to just hit them with, if I was going to lunch and I was trying to just find out stuff about them and how they're doing in their own career and how they're navigating, because this industry is so different over the last 10 years. And as actors, you have to kind of have a camaraderie to sort of go like, oh, so what are you up to and how are you doing this? And how did you get that role, or how are you getting roles and putting yourself on tape, except self-tape submissions, because it's so different now. You know what I mean? It's not like the old days where there was 5 guys sitting in a waiting room with the sides, and they all called you in one at a time. It doesn't work that way anymore. A lot of stuff, there's so much tape out there on people that a lot of stuff is just sort of like, I want that guy. And that's why he's going to get a lot of work now, because people are going to see him, producers, directors, casting people, and say, hey, what about Chris? Oh yeah, Chris. What? And they're just going to look at his tape. They're going to look at a couple clips, online. They're going to go online and look him up. They're going to Google him, see clips, and they're going to go, yeah, let's offer that guy this role. So that's a new thing that's going to be, and you heard him talk about how, like, oh, they look how many followers you have on Twitter. Like, that matters more than your actual acting talent, so.
Exactly. Yeah. And his Twitter is still continually growing. I know when I first talked to him, he had maybe like 300 followers, and he's definitely gotten more than that since then. But if any listeners want to give him a follow, he is at Angry Willard. So definitely give him a follow, because he does post some interesting tidbits about working on the show that he didn't cover on the podcast. And he has some funny quips, and he actually talks to his fans as well. Sometimes you get those accounts that have like 3-4 million followers. You can post all you want, and that's usually the only time they will respond to you is if you spam the hell out of them, which I can imagine would be very annoying. But you don't have to do that with Christopher, so it's always a welcome change.
Yeah, I mean, when you get up to that many people, if you got up the next morning and you looked at your feed, there's no way you're going to answer people. You know what I mean? And that's why they're saying, if you spam, because maybe you'll catch them, they'll actually see you at the top of that notification, right? So
yeah.
So maybe it wouldn't be annoying that you're spamming them, because they're not able to keep up and see any of that anyway,
Unless all they can see is that. I mean, granted, it would probably still, when you have 4 million followers and there's just hundreds and thousands of people asking you, follow me, that probably could.
Would it be funny if I just like spammed like Tide or Downy fabric softener or any kind of corporate thing that has their own Twitter? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you should do that. Or even better, just because we like making fun of him so much, just spam the hell out of Donald Trump. And then
I actually posted a couple of things today. I started because today was like Super Tuesday. I'm like, hey, it's Super Trump Day, and I was like, we got to get the vote out in Trump-tucky. Like, we just added some more states, Trump-tucky, North Trumpalina, like Trump-Lahoma. It's just like, I was like, and then my friend actually sent me something, and I don't think he made it, but he must have found it. But it was like somebody took Donald Trump's mouth and they replaced it on his eyes, and he looks exactly the same as he always looks. So they replaced his eyes with the two pictures of his mouth, and he actually looks the same. They showed the picture normally, and with the eyeballs replaced with his mouth, and he looks the same. So it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I actually did see that. I think I retweeted it later on in the evening after you posted it. Right. But yeah, no, I saw that and got a pretty good laugh out of it, I must say.
Yeah. Look, I couldn't tell you how the guy is going to be as president, but it's a weird thing. It's definitely weird to have the guy that was firing people on The Apprentice with Dee Snider and who's the guy with all the piercings, and he went and visited the North Korean leader. He played for the Bulls. You know what I'm talking about? With his hair all dyed.
I do not
Dennis
know.
Rodman. Dennis Rodman was on The Apprentice a couple times, right? And I think Donald liked him. He kept him around, but eventually had to fire him because he had like a drinking problem and stuff. But Dennis Rodman is also friends with that young leader in North Korea. They're friends. So it's kind of funny to see this kind of 6 degrees of separation, that this reality TV show gets elected president and then he elicits Dennis Rodman, like Nixon solicited Elvis Presley to work for the DEA back in like the 70s. It's like Dennis Rodman is made sort of like a top CIA Secret Service, operative for Donald Trump to go over and basically, get information or be the sort of mediator with the North Korean guy. I don't even know his name, Kim Jong-il or whatever, or Kim Jong-jun. Come of some young guy. I don't know.
Kim Jong. I think it's Kim Jong-un now. I think Kim Jong-il was the one who died.
Who knows? They both have great haircuts. That's all I know. So. They all have great haircuts. That's kind of funny. It was like Donald Trump has his goofy hair, and then Dennis Rodman has all that colored and crazy hair, and then the leader of North Korea has that really messed up, like weird bowl haircut. That's like he looks like somebody from Kid and Play, right? You know what I mean? And then you just got to add in one of the guys from Kid and Play, and you just got to have the 4 of those guys like playing some sort of death match of highlight. Remember, the highlight, that ball game down in Miami, like they toss the ball. That would be hilarious, man. That's the way world politics should be. So, but I'll just tell you, it's a sign of the times. They say it's a sign of the times. I mean, think about that. You got Donald Trump, and he might be nominated for president, and then he might actually win. That's just crazy. That's crazy. Come on now, you're crazy, girl.
Speaking of crazy girls,
wait, can I just say something? By the way, I just want to state for the record that I'm sort of an anarchist, and I love people that stir it up. I stir it up. You know what I mean? I like starting fights and walking away. Like I like starting arguments at parties and then kind of like shifting out of it, where I have people. You know what I'm talking about? Like I'm the guy that is in the kitchen, and I'll bring up some topics and I'll get people really fired up, and then I'll walk away. That's what I like to do. So I actually think having Donald Trump as president is hilarious to me. I will enjoy it. I'll laugh every day. There'll be something to laugh at every day. And don't you want a world where you laugh at something every day? Doesn't the world need more laughter? But at the same time, some people say, well, you're really mean because he's going to be really bad for other people. So you'd be laughing at someone else's unfortunate situation. That's true. So, but I'm not of this world. I'm in it, but not of it, So personally, I think whoever's president of the United States is president of some sort of fictitious boundary country with rules. I don't really agree with it all. So go ahead, Creech. You were going to say.
I was just going to say, speaking of crazy girls, that seemed to be a good segue into our next interview with the cast and crew of the upcoming strip club Massacre. I mean, with the title
and there's some very attractive women in that cast. So
there is, and I was actually lucky enough to interview the main 4, and I also interviewed the crew. And fingers crossed, hoping that I will at some point have a cameo in this movie, which is still shooting in Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm excited to see what it's like.
Oh yeah, well, they posted a mini teaser, which was kind of their first of any sort of footage that was released at Days of the Dead. That's now on YouTube. I posted some of that footage. Actually, I don't know if you got to watch it. The thing I got you to retweet yet, but the announcement teaser for this week's podcast actually featured.
I did. Okay. I retweeted
it. Okay,
hot girls. Why am I not going to retweet?
That is the opening stuff was actually some of the footage from that so far. But yeah, it does look like it's going to be a great film. It's kind of like a revenge horror movie. Like I said, it's going to be a great movie with or without my cameo. Though, if they totally want to call me, I totally drive down to do a cameo in it. And you could come down to support me.
DJ. I would do a cameo as the DJ. I'd like to be the guy that announces the girls on stage, with a little perm or something. I got a perm. If you get invited to the premiere, let me know.
Oh, they already said we were more than invited to the premiere.
Great.
So it'd be even more great if we did a podcast live from the premiere. That would be pretty cool. But I guess now we should stop asking for cameos and air these 2 awesome interviews with both the cast and the crew of Strip Club Massacre.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dave and Creech podcast. I am here with Erin Brown, Courtney Riggs, Alicia Watson, and Layla. And they are here for the Strip Club Massacre film. Now, you're currently filming out in Atlanta, Georgia. How is that going?
Amazing. We're having so much fun. Everybody's great on set, so we all get along awesomely. Yes, that's the word.
Awesomely. It's going awesome. It's going swimmingly.
Yes.
So, is there any plans to release this out in theaters, or is it going to be like straight to DVD, or how do you know anything about the release of it?
We just show up and look pretty.
Yeah.
We don't deal with that end.
I believe it's going to premiere at the Plaza, then it's going to DVD.
Yeah.
We're hoping Redbox picks it up.
Netflix, something like that.
Call us, Redbox.
That's in the works. It's all in the works.
Okay, and to everybody out there, if each of you had to give one reason why they should see this movie, what would it be?
Go ahead, you first.
I got nothing.
Because there's tits.
There's Erin Brown.
No, get out.
Wrong
because
answer,
there is naked girls and tits, and it's really awesomely gory.
It's revenge and boobs. That's all you need, right?
For a good horror film.
Yeah, blood and boobs. Blood and boobs.
Now, I'll revise my answer.
Okay.
Rape revenge is the best genre in horror films. And yes, as was mentioned, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be sexy, bloody, gory, all that, and a bag of chips. So
maybe a soda on the side.
All right.
A diet soda, because we're watching our girls' fingers, you know.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, I want to thank you ladies again, and like they said, you've got blood and boobs to look forward to this summer. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dave and Creech Show. I am here with Bruce, Bob, and Nick from Strip Club Massacre. How long have you been working on this film so far, guys?
I'd say we started in June, early June. This guy, Nick, we were producing a TV show together.
Yeah, a TV show.
We're on set one day, we're sweating, and he's like, hey, I got an idea for a movie. I'm like, what's the idea?
More of a title, but yeah.
And he goes, Strip Club Massacre. I'm like, great, what's it about? He's like, you're the writer. And I'm like, well hell, I'll write it. So he thought I was just talking trash, and so I get with my boy Bruce here. He's a co-writer of the film.
Yep.
And I said, hey, Nick's got an idea for a movie, let's write it. He's like, all right. So in 2 weeks, was it? You had a treatment?
Yeah. In 2 weeks, I had like a 3-page treatment, and I was like, oh, he's not kidding. We're doing Strip Club Massacre. All right.
And that's, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it, so it's done.
Obviously.
Yeah, so that's it.
And now, as writers, did you use any other films as inspiration when you were writing Strip Club Massacre?
Not really. There's a couple of characters that I could kind of say are based off of attitudes or characteristics of other characters, but for the most part, we created our own. But, like, for example, we have one character named Kim, who many people, when they read the script, compares to Sherry Moon Zombie's version of Baby and Devil's Rejects and House of the Corpses. But other than that, everyone's pretty much, it's a brand new, whole new set of characters. Would you agree?
I would, yeah. I mean, we definitely, as it is a revenge flick, there are certain movies that come to mind, and I Spit on Your Grave was one, not so much as a character resemblance, but just thematic elements. So, but yeah, not one in particular major influence other than just a little salt and pepper of everything that we've seen and what we wanted to see on screen. So.
Yeah, our goal making this is, you have your extremely gory films, then you have your low budget films, you have your comedy horrors. We actually took a little bit of everything. There's going to be some disturbing scenes where you're like, want to look away. There's a little bit of gore, but there's actually some humorous moments. So we took everything in this room that everyone likes about a movie and tried to put it into one. Is the goal we have, and I hope it works. We'll see.
Okay. And how long did it take to assemble the cast for this? And where did you go to get everybody?
That's a fun story.
Well, the cast has changed a few times since the beginning, but long story short, man, it's just been. I actually own an agency in Atlanta. So we got some talent there. Alicia Watson is one of our clients. She's the lead. It just so happened at one of these events in Indianapolis, me and him met Erin Brown, and we all became good friends. And when she read the script, she wanted to be part of the film. So Erin Brown, who used to be Misty Mondays in it, and we just got lucky, man. I mean, a lot of the people in our film, I'm a first-time director. He's a first-time writer. So there's also a lot of first-time actors and actresses. They're all talented. They've all read, but a lot of it's like, this is our first go at it. Let's make it work.
We also tried to keep talent local as much as we could, with the exception of Erin Brown. I mean, we tried to, so we kind of homegrown kind of with this film, and so for talent we did a lot of local searching, and that's why we're shooting and filming and starring a cast that's all local to the Atlanta area. So wanted to keep it very intimate as far as who we knew and just the area, and try to keep it local and yeah.
The main question we have when we're casting these roles, especially with the females, we're like, all right, do you like horror movies? Yes. All right, cool. Now read this. Like, if you're not a horror fan, you wouldn't get this movie. So look, first off, you got to love the genre. If you love the genre, then you got a shot to be in the film. That's how I did it. And I think we all agreed that's how we were going to do it. So.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. That's a really good way of doing it. Because I mean, if they're not a fan of the genre, then it's very difficult to convey the idea of what we're doing and things like that. You don't want to be like, well, what is the movie about? Well, it's Circle Massacre, kind of self-explanatory.
Exactly.
But if they don't get it and they don't know it or they don't like it, then it's going to be real difficult to get it by them.
And I will say this: everyone sees Strip Club Massacre, and they initially walk by, and the first question is it porn? It's not porn.
It is not porn.
It's not even close to porn.
No, it isn't.
And it's also, when we say to people, it's what it sounds like, it is, but it isn't. Because there's actually a very deep story. The lead, Alicia Watson, who plays Megan, has a deep backstory. So it's actually a very solid film all around from the standpoint of horror, great story, not a porn. It's a legit film. It's a legit, we want everyone to be happy. And that was our goal going in is, because some people are like, that was a good movie, but the plot didn't make sense, or that was a good movie, there was no gore. So we added an element of everything.
Bob, where's the baby?
Yeah, exactly.
I think the main thing here is that this whole project was born out of fandom, because first and foremost, we are fans of the genre.
Oh, yes.
And I think that is why we can kind of be confident in saying that this is, as best as we can make it, true to the love of the horror genre.
Absolutely.
So not to be cliche, but I mean it's made by fans for fans of the genre. So.
And the funny thing is, and I'll be honest, me and him kind of agree on most. Me and this dude have actually different tastes of what the horror we like. Like, I think werewolves are the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, but this dude loves werewolves. But on the same token, I watch stuff and he's like, that's not good. But it works because we throw his elements in the film, we throw my elements in the film, and everything, when you put it all together, it works out. It's all working out. And we actually make a great team, so nobody's got punched in the face yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
so we're
still
good.
2 hours left today, right?
Yeah, so we're good.
God.
We're good.
So, since you say this is a homegrown movie, how does it feel to be able to premiere the first footage and to really come and to Days of the Dead and kind of, is this like your massive reveal of it, really? I mean, other than on Facebook?
This is the first...
You want to go ahead and take that?
No, yeah, this is the first anyone is seeing of any of our footage. The movie poster, which is, we just kind of finalized, like, 2 weeks ago.
About a week, yeah, we can have
it. It's the first time a lot of people are seeing everything that they've been reading on social media.
Yeah, because we've been posting pictures about production and like what we're doing, but you don't see it. And then with the teaser that I cut for the convention, everybody loves it. Everybody really has been digging it.
And I'll be honest with you, this is our fourth or fifth convention I've been to. It's the first time that I've come with my film. I've always been helping people promote or doing different things, but this is the first time that I can come and say, this is our movie, we wrote it, we're doing it, and I believe that it was the best. We had the biggest reception. Like, I was stunned last night.
Yeah,
the reception we got
was insane.
It was absolutely insane. I don't know if it was title or the hot girls we had or if it was our sexy bodies. I don't know what it was, but people are drawn to it.
It was Bruce's
beard.
It's
probably the girls.
It's probably Bruce's beard. Definitely Bruce's beard.
Probably the
There's a lot
girls.
of power in the beard.
Yeah, there is.
It's like the
I don't have a beard.
So, it's all right.
I got the baby face. For y'all girls at home.
All right, and so we're going to wrap this interview up. I do want to ask why, anybody that's out here listening, why do you think they will love it the most, Strip Club Massacre?
I got to go back to the fan thing, because we because we put so much of our love for horror into this movie, I think that it's going to translate on screen. I think it's easily relatable because it's a very direct but solid story. So I feel like its effectiveness will rely or be reflected in how we love the genre so much. So,
and to piggyback on that, like I said earlier, we took an element from each type of horror genre. You have the people that love the gore, or people that love the disturbing. So I think there's a piece of something in this film that every type of horror fan loves. So if they hate it, they hate it. But I have a feeling that most people are going to find at least elements of the film they love.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think we've all seen like bad movies, yes. Really bad movies, not good bad movies, but bad movies, yes. And we know what not to do. We know what doesn't work. We know what does work. So, just watching that and going through that and knowing what those are, we're doing better with this. Yeah. We know what this is going to look like in the end. Yeah. So
and we're very happy so far. I mean, we're filming now, but I think the end product's going to be a great thing for us.
Well, you've heard it here. Make sure you check out Strip Club Massacre in June or July. And if you're going to a convention that they're having to be promoting, definitely make sure you go. It looks amazing. And you're going to Charlotte, right?
Yes, Mad
Monster Charlotte.
Yeah, definitely.
Go check us out.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going from interviews to a more serious topic of discussion. This week, we have a new GoFundMe of the week, and Dave is going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Frank Vaughn, he passed away. His daughter's looking for some help because there wasn't life insurance, and so I thought it would be nice to, everyone deserves to be buried properly, right? So this is a GoFundMe to help with some burial costs and headstone and stuff like that. So that's all. It's very simple, but we're just trying to we can't just have it all be about me, or you on the show. Even if we could just mention it.
If you're listening, I'll post the link on my or on the actual notes for this podcast, and then
and if the least we can do is retweet it, then that's what we can do, right?
Yeah, me and Dave will both retweet it, and hopefully we can help Rachel get some money to bury her dad properly.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, man, I got to go make a ham sandwich or something because I'm starving. So I thought we had.
I do have to ask. It seems like every time you wrap up, it's like I got to go eat something. I feel like I'm really inconveniencing you each time we podcast.
I think I just get hungry, dude. We're on for we're chatting for 2 hours, and then I get hungry. I'm tied to the thing. So I must have I probably eat more than I think. You know what I'm saying? I probably don't realize how much I'm eating. So maybe I do eat every hour and I don't realize it because for some reason I get hungry while I'm on these podcasts.
Well, and I don't think people realize how much energy goes into these podcasts.
Well, yeah, I'm on a treadmill. So how do you power your computer?
I don't know. Where I'm podcasting right now feels like a sauna.
Okay.
I feel like I've sorted out at least 8 pounds throughout this podcast.
It has been nice. The weather was warm last 2 days, wasn't it, man? Warm. Was it warm by you? Yeah.
Yes, it has.
I loved it.
Oh, yes.
I loved it. March, but it was beautiful weather. All right, well, let's you and I will reconnect with Alyssa for the wrap up, and then we'll hopefully look into maybe finding someone for an interview earlier, like on the weekend or something that we can add into our Tuesday situation to get another long interview with somebody. So
yeah, if for some reason we're not able to land anybody else for a newer interview, I'll go ahead next week and air our interview with Tobin Bell from the Saw films.
Sounds perfect. All right,
don't try to sound too enthused about that.
Oh, dude. Yeah, no, Saw, man, I get it. No, now I got to get the ham sandwich, dude. I'm going to get a ham sandwich and I'm going to go to bed. And I'm going to watch Better Call Saul.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to The Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.